The Galactic Integration Summit had attracted delegates from 47 species, each eager to establish diplomatic ties with the newest spacefaring civilization, humanity. Truce Harrison stood in the crystalline observation deck of Station Harmony, his two daughters pressed against his sides, their small faces illuminated by the nebula beyond the viewport. "Look at all the aliens, Daddy." 6-year-old Maya tugged at his sleeve, her eyes wide with wonder. 8-year-old Sophie, ever the serious one, adjusted her glasses. "They're called extraterrestrial sentients, Maya? Ms. Chun told us in school." Truce smiled, ruffling both their heads. As Earth's diplomatic attaché, he'd been invited to attend with his family, a gesture meant to showcase humanity's values. His wife Rachel had stayed behind for work, trusting him to handle their daughters at the galaxy's most important gathering. Ambassador Harrison. A smooth, synthesized voice emerged from a floating orb beside him. "Ambassador Velthara of the Kryn Collective requests your presence at the Cultural Exchange Pavilion. Tell her I'll be there shortly." Truce knelt to his daughter's level. "You two stay here with Lieutenant Chong, okay? Daddy has boring adult stuff to do. Can't we come?" Maya's lower lip jutted out. "Not this time, sweetheart. But I promise we'll visit the zero-gravity playground later." As Truce made his way through the station's corridors, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Humanity was still a curiosity, a species that had clawed its way from nuclear-capable to FTL-capable in less than a century, something most civilizations took millennia to achieve. The pavilion was a riot of colors and forms. Methane-breathing Zephyrite floated in containment bubbles. The rock-like Lidhans conversed in seismic rumbles translated by AI. And there, in the center, stood Ambassador Velthara, a statuesque Kryn with iridescent scales and 4 graceful arms. "Ambassador Harrison." She inclined her head, her neck frills flaring in what he'd learned was a sign of respect. "Your species' presentation on persistence hunting was most illuminating." They discussed trade agreements and cultural exchanges, the typical diplomatic dance. An hour passed, then 2. Truce found himself relaxing, even enjoying the intellectual sparring with beings whose thought processes were fundamentally alien, yet strangely comprehensible. "You have offspring," Velthara observed, her lateral eyes focusing on a photo he'd shown her. "We Kryn also prioritize our young. Perhaps a family cultural exchange? Your children could meet mine." "I'd like that," Truce said warmly. A commotion erupted near the pavilion entrance. Truce's blood ran cold as he spotted Lieutenant Chong frantically searching the crowd, his daughters nowhere in sight. "Maya, Sophie." Truce's diplomatic composure shattered as he pushed through the assembled aliens. Ignoring protocols and propriety, he found them 3 corridors away, standing before a viewing window. But they weren't alone. A female figure loomed over them, 7 feet tall, covered in midnight blue chitinous plates, with 4 arms ending in wicked claws. Her head was angular, almost insectoid, with multifaceted eyes that gleamed like black opals. The XA then. Humanity's intelligence briefings had been clear. The XN hierarchy was one of the galaxy's most aggressive expansionist powers, barely restrained by galactic law. Every human instinct screamed danger. The XA then female, Elodie, according to her diplomatic badge, was a trained warrior caste member. Those claws could slice through steel. That chitinous armor could withstand small arms fire. "Step away from my daughters," Truce said, his voice steady despite his hammering heart. His hand moved toward the emergency beacon on his wrist. Elodie's compound eyes shifted to him, reflecting hundreds of tiny Truces. When she spoke, her voice was unexpectedly soft, translated by her collar device. "Human father, your offspring approached me. I meant no intrusion." "Daddy, wait." Sophie grabbed his arm. "She's nice." Maya nodded vigorously. "She showed us how the stars look in ultraviolet. And she has pretty shells." Truce froze, his finger hovering over the beacon. He looked at his daughters, really looked at them. They weren't afraid. Maya was beaming, holding what appeared to be a small, pearlescent shell. Sophie was showing Elodie something on her datapad. Truce's words caught in his throat. "I apologize, Ambassador. You thought I posed a threat." Elodie's mandibles clicked in what the translator rendered as gentle amusement. "I am XA then. Your databases likely classify us as hostile." She looked down at Maya, who was now trying to count her fingers. "But I am also a mother of 3. I saw your offspring admiring the nebula and recognized the expression of wonder. It is universal. Truce felt his assumptions crumbling. You have children? Nymphs, Elodie corrected. They are in the station's youth habitat, learning to interact with other species young. My mate and I believe the hierarchy's future lies not in conquest, but in cooperation. We are a minority, but we grow in number. Sophie tugged Elodie's lowest arm. Can we meet them? Your nymphs. Elodie's eyes facets seemed to soften. If your father permits. Truce stood at a crossroads. Every human survival instinct, every prejudice born from intelligence reports and cautionary briefings, screamed at him to take his daughters and leave. But he looked at Elodie, truly looked, and saw not a monster, but a mother extending an olive branch across the vast gulf between species. I'd be honored, he said finally, extending his hand. Elodie stared at the hand for a moment, then carefully wrapped one delicate claw around it. Your species has a saying, I believe. It takes a village to raise a child. Perhaps the village can be larger than one planet. As they walked together toward the youth habitat, Maya chattering excitedly about butterfly collections and Sophie explaining human schools, Truce realized that this moment of trust between two parents from worlds apart, was what the Integration Summit was truly about. Not treaties or trade agreements, but the simple recognition that love for one's children transcended species, that hope for a better future was the most human thing of all, and perhaps, Truce thought with a smile, the most alien thing too. The galaxy was vast and strange and sometimes terrifying. But watching his daughters play with XN nymphs under the light of a billion stars, Truce knew that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their persistence or their ingenuity, that it was their ability to see past the claws and chitin to the parent beneath, and to whisper, despite every fear, that one, the end.